folks, thanks for joining me today. In this tutorial, we're going to be using a natural stone. Now, this is one of my stones from the Mad River in southern Ontario, and I'm just using the shape of it. So I am painting a base coat of black following the shape of the rock. And this gives me just an idea as to where I want my picture to be, where I want my painting to be. And it also gives me a bit of an idea as the contour of the rock. So that way I know what I can use it for and where I want to put my painting. So usually once I've got the black on there, that's when I decide where I want my composition to go. Like, for example, this is going to be a sunset painting with some sun rays coming through some trees that are situated on an island. So the shape of the rock gives me the ideas to where the trees go, where the sun should go, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to do this on a rock. You can do this on a piece of wood. You could do it on canvas, anything that you'd like to do. I will give you the heads up. There's going to be a lot of blending in this one, but it's a good time to practice. And the good thing with acrylic paints is you can blend, and if you don't like it, just let it dry and then paint over it, and it's all good. Once you have your base coat down and it has completely dried, then you can put your sketch on there. I'm using a General's charcoal pencil. You can use whatever you have available. Watercolor pencils will work. Just a regular pencil, as long as you do it lightly. Anything that you want will work, as long as it will come off. Or you paint over it. That's your options, really. So I'm using the blending brushes that I got from Amazon. There is a link in the description below if you want your own set. I started off with some yellow, and then I blended in some orange, and then I brought in some more yellow because I really wanted it bright. And that's the sunset that I did at the top. Now below is going to be water, so I'm not too careful with it because I want ripples or the blurriness of the water that's underneath, or I guess in front of the horizon. So I add in a bunch more yellows and a bunch more oranges just to blend it all in together. Now, these blending brushes are amazing because they will blend in very well, or if you want to leave it with like sort of some blending and still some of the original color shining through, these brushes will do that. You don't have to switch. It's really, really awesome. I do recommend, however, to clean your brush out regularly and do not leave it in the cup of water that you're using because learn from my mistakes. I did it and the handles are not sealed. So they're wooden handles. They sucked up the water and expanded. So I mean, the bristles are still usable. It's just not a very comfortable handle to hold on to anymore. But just learn from my mistakes. So then I went in with a flat brush and I had a little bit of yellow paint on there while my base coat was wet. And I put in sort of like the illusion of where my sun rays were going to go, just as sort of a keeper or a placekeeper for that. So I just wanted to make sure that I knew where they were. That way, I could also figure out as I was painting where my lights and darks should go. So I know where my light source is coming from. So I know what needs to be light and what needs to be dark. So right now I'm doing the island, which is a rock island. I live in northern Ontario and rock islands are quite common. So that's what I've been used to seeing. So that's what I'm going to be painting. And of course you got to put that shadow on the water as well. I just made it so that it was rather blurry instead of a lot of detail like the rock itself was, because that's what you want. You want the water side of the painting to be a bit blurry so that it gives that illusion of water. We will put in a little bit of ripples in it as well later on, but that's how we determine where the water comes to the land, and it's usually done with kind of a blurry effect. So that's what I did, and now I'm just putting in a very fine line of black, just to give me that point of where the rock hits the water, so I know where the reflection is. Now I'm putting on some clouds. Magically, one of them already appeared. I'm sorry, that was in my editing. But remember, when you're doing a reflection picture, whatever you do on the top, you have to do on the bottom, but opposite. Now, I don't know if that makes sense, but let's say you put a cloud at the very top of the painting, then you've got to put a cloud at the very bottom of the painting. I hope that makes sense. Um, but again, whatever's in the water, I'm just going along and making it as blurry as possible. And because the bottom of my rock is wider than the top, then I am pretending in my mind that there is more clouds in the sky that we don't see on the top, but that they're reflecting in the bottom. So that's what I've done there by adding the extra clouds. And I found that they were a little bit too bright, so I was trying to add in some shadows and some darker portions on the clouds. And it kind of worked, but later on I fix it up. And actually, most of it gets covered up. So now I'm doing the horizon at the background of the island. So this is all the land that is behind the island that you would normally see. And where the land meets the water, we want it to be somewhat straight. There could be some little dips or uh, slips of the brush type thing, and that's okay because nothing in nature is perfect. Um, and that's what we want to go for. We want to go for that imperfectness of the beauty of nature, and that's why I love painting nature scenes so much, because there really isn't any mistakes. It's just a lot of fun, and it's a great way to get my ideas out of my head onto a canvas. And in this case, it's a rock. So I just continue on with doing some lights and darks. I'm using a fine lining brush. I'm also using a small blending brush. And now what I'm doing is I'm actually outlining some of the rocks so that you can really see the different layers of the rocks of the island. So that's one thing I've noticed looking at many, many rock islands around here, and pictures that I've taken of them. You can really define the layers of rock on an island. And I thought it was really cool, and I really, really wanted to capture that. I hope I've done that, but I must say at the end of it, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. It looks really, really good, especially after it's had its coat of resin. So just remember that two things with resining. One, your colors are going to end up being brighter. So whatever you see right now is going to be brighter once it's resined, because it's like it's encased in glass. In having said that, your rock is going to become darker because it's going to be like the wet look. So if you want to know what your rock is going to look like resin, just put some water on it. That will tell you what shade the rock will go to. Now, this particular one does go pretty dark, but that's okay because you can still tell where the black starts. And with having such a bright colored painting on it, it doesn't really take away from it. So it's really, really pretty. So again, here I am, I'm putting on some trees, and remember, whatever you do on the top, you got to do on the bottom, but opposite. So one's upside down, what's upside right. And it's just, a simple thing to do, and you don't have to be too careful with it because, again, it's a reflection in the water. And in this particular case, the water isn't very still. So it's got some cloudiness to it, and some, we're going to put ripples in, like I said. So just go with the flow, whatever you feel like. And if you find that maybe the tree that you put on didn't have enough branches or enough leaves, add more. If you feel like it had too many, just draw another trunk in front of it, that kind of thing. And it just makes up for all of these things that you don't like about your painting. But just remember, it's your painting. This is you. You be you. And whatever you create is going to be beautiful. So let's talk about the trees. So, how I paint the trees is I put a stick, like a line, and that's the trunk from the top to bottom. And what I do is I always start from the base and drag my paintbrush up. That way, if I have a lot of paint on it, it's going to be at the bottom, which is the trunk. And then as I go up, the less amount of paint is being taken off of the brush, and that creates the point. And then I just very haphazardly, I guess, is I just dab my brush back and forth, and that creates the illusion that it's a pine tree or a spruce tree, or let's bracket them all under evergreens. So that's how I do it. I know there's other ways that you can do it. I've seen it done with fan brushes. I've seen it done with sponges, but this is how I like to do it. So again, just to show you here, I just draw the trunk. I start from the bottom and I let the paintbrush slide up, and it gets smaller to the point, at the point, and then I just drag my brush back and forth, and I very, very lightly touch it to the rock or to your canvas, whatever you're painting. And now the side that I'm doing is the water side, so I'm not too careful with it because it is going to be the illusion part. Not the illusion, I'm sorry, the reflection part. So now I'm just going to add some more trees on the other side. And that's all the trees that are in the background that is behind the rock that we painted, the rock island that's in the foreground. So it's a very, very simple painting to do. You're not using a lot of colors, especially for the rock. What I did was I don't think I used any grays. I think I just mixed black and white together. And that gives you a really nice uh, gradient value of the gray, because of you're not going to mix your paint exactly the same every single time. So that's what I did. I just, whatever was on my brush, I just, dabbed it on, and ended up getting a really nice looking rock. So as I had talked about before, the where the light source is in comparison to your dark, or where your shadows would be, I'm just lightening up some of the trees to give that illusion that there is a light source behind it, and it's lighting it up. And again, remember, whatever you do on the top of the painting, you've got to do on the bottom because it's a reflection. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just adding a little bit of, I think it's a little bit of yellow and white mixed together. And I'm just very, very lightly dabbing it on. Most of the paint is off my brush as well. And I just, dab it. So that's how you can do that and give it that illusion that there is a light source. Now we will be putting a light source in the middle. That is the sun. And I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of sunsets where the sun rays are actually gleaming through the tree branches and continue on their way, almost like the tree didn't break its travel, like it had to keep going. So that's what I tried to capture on this painting, and I was hoping that it wouldn't look too fake, and I think that it turned out okay. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Like I said, I thought it was going to look a little bit fake, but I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. But let me know what you think. I really want to know what you guys think. And hey, you know what? While you're here, why don't you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel? And let me know if you like this video by giving me that thumbs up. And don't forget to ring the bell, because that'll give you notifications every single time that I post something new. So now I'm putting on the light source. So I used my largest blending brush and just dabbed it straight up and down in the middle of those two big trees that are on the island with yellow. And then I did the same again with orange. And now I'm doing the sun rays. And what I'm doing is I'm just like very quickly doing a straight line and then dabbing it immediately with my finger. This gives the illusion like it pushes out the paint, so it's not such a defined line, and allows the painting behind it to come through. So yeah, that I think it looks pretty good. I let me know what you think. And now I'm just adding in a little bit of the ripples, like I said earlier that we were going to do. And all of the colors that I used, just a reminder, they're listed in the description below. So you can use the same colors as I am, or you can use whatever you have in your stash, but they are listed all in the description below. So I had used yellow for my light sources for the little ripples or tiny waves that are in the water. And then I've got to put in a dark source. So that's when I'm using this orange color. And I'm using the same technique as I did before with wiping it with my finger just to give it that blurred look. Now you'll notice that I'm wiping with the same direction as what the paint stroke went in. So I'm not going up and down to like furrow it out, I guess. I'm wanting to keep it straight. So then once that's all done and I'm happy with it, I use some black paint and I fix up the border that I originally put on, and it's ready for resin. So there you have it, folks. Life is what you make it. So get creative.